Hello, all you
Can
hard.
you hear me, Pog?
Hello, all you hardcores out there. How are you doing? It's Russ here from PORKYS Corner. Biggest gob in sport. We say the things on here that nobody dares say. Today we're joined by James from planet Jupiter. I don't know what planet you're on, James. What are you doing here with this tech shit here? Hey, have you ever
Well,
been on a big job? Have you?
yeah, I have, mate. I'm a bit simple. I'm from Essex.
All right, right. That understands it then, doesn't it? How are you?
Yeah, Eddie Hills country. I'm not too bad, mate. Not too bad. I've got a bit of London pride on the go. Long time fan of the show, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, good. Uh, where do we start? Here, Eddie's just walked into that place in Sheffield where the Huey's fighting. Obviously, he's there to speak to Peter about putting Huey in with Joshua. Everybody knows about it. Let's just hope that Huey does the business in about an hour. So it is what it is, isn't it? We'll get to that in a bit. So tell us about where you've been. You worked in boxing industry, haven't you, James? Apparently.
Yeah, I have. I've worked in boxing. I started out with Steve Wood. I used to do like his promotional pieces for his shows. Um, did that for a year and a half, couple of years. So I'm a bit of a natural with the written word, even if I say so myself. So, got to know Jamie Moore, got to meet all my heroes, and I started getting cynical with boxing even then, to be honest, Russ. Um, a bit of a hiatus, went to university, sort of kept me foot in the door, just was writing for websites and things like that. And I also got involved with Chris Mailer, who runs Boxing Now. Used to be British Boxers. He's a very good friend of mine. I used to help maintain the site with him years and years ago.
He's there at
Uh,
your fight tonight.
no, is he? Is he? I've not spoken to him in a couple of months. I know he's recently become a granddad, so I try and just, I'm just leaving him to it, leaving him to it. But the boys over at Boxing Now, they're doing a good job, aren't they? So it's nice to see them go from strength to strength. Through them, I did a bit of commentary for Pat Barrett and Black Flash shows, so I've been involved with Pat. I've just been a little bit of a sort of lightweight journeyman on the media side of things, I suppose.
Why is that?
I'm not one of, uh, well, I'm not one of those. I don't really like to kiss ass, and do you know what I mean. I wouldn't really be that bothered about, doing what the Puppy Parsons of the world and all that do. You know what I mean. And I'm a single father as well, so makes it quite difficult. My lad's my priority, and now I just watch a little bit of boxing and do a bit of shouting. I've got a channel with my friend Sean, um, and yeah, we comment on the boxing, but again, a little bit of controversy. Don't like to be too nice where it's not warranted. I'm not a kiss ass, and it's out there in the media. I had Dubois winning that fight by stoppage or by knockout before it happened. So yeah, you're in good company, Russ, because I know you're not a big Joshua fan, are you? Big Meech.
No. I'm not a big Joshua fan at all. I don't like bullies. He's a bully and a fraud, mate. That's bottom line.
Exactly.
Just because of how he looks, they've tried to market it and they've tried to tell his story like they've told it, but it's a load of old hogwash. How they've told it, they haven't put everything out there. They've just said what they wanted to say and drip fed us. Load of old rubbish. Everybody knows McCracken got him out of prison. He did
Hmm.
a week in Reading, didn't he? But they can mask over that, how they want to mask over it. We all know who he's fought and who he hasn't fought. We know how he's got there. He's had it all on a plate all the way through.
He has, and
That's the bottom. That's the
uh,
bottom.
yeah, he's made a lot of people a lot of money, which is why there's a lot of people kissing his backside at the moment, and a lot of people not really wishing to address the big issue of like the reason why I thought Dubois was going to win that fight was because Joshua's like a candle. He melts in the heat, don't he? Every time you put it on him, he don't want to know. And when I was talking to people who were dissenting voices and people that were, turning around and going, "No, Joshua's going to win the fight." He got for it against Klitschko. Yeah, well, yeah, that was the first time he had to come through the fire. And after that fight, he decided he never wanted to do it again. Do you know what I mean? There's a first time for everything. He got it. he got hurt, and he thought, nah, never again. And I mean, they're making a big thing, aren't they, Ross? About he got up, yeah, but he didn't defend himself, did he? He hasn't got it between the ears. He's not a boxing man. He doesn't really know how to throw an educated jab the way Dubois did. Um, and as much as I'm praising Dubois and all that, let's have it right. The real master of boxing is Alexander Usyk, and they were fighting for his scraps. That belt meant absolutely sod all. So it was a good for what it was, entertaining British title fight, glorified British title fight. But let's not get stupid. You know what I mean? Let's not jump on a bandwagon. Usyk's the man, and he will be the man until he decides to hang him up.
You think people are getting carried away with Dubois' win?
Yeah, massively, because they're in love with Joshua, and they've always been in love with Joshua. So, as soon as Joshua is sort of put away and, the big troll, the big Billy Goat Gruff and the big trolls put on his arse and, eradicated, oh, Daniel Dubois, he's the second coming. But, we know how sort of fickle boxing fans are and all that. And, they were, well, you had people sort of on the other side of the fence, didn't you, slagging him off when he had the fight with Usyk and, well, he's not that good, and suddenly he's the best thing since sliced bread. With the casuals, he will be a recognised world heavyweight champion, but with the hardcores, no, because Usyk, well, they've basically done the same thing they did with Tyson Fury, haven't they? You know what I mean? Tyson Fury was the legitimate world heavyweight champion. It was nothing to do with Glasgow and Charlie Martin, was it? And then Charlie Martin got the belt and Eddie Hearn saw an opportunity, and suddenly Big Meech is there. He marches in and he's the world heavyweight champion. He's say your prayers, eat your vitamins. He's the Hulk Hogan for the modern world, isn't he? Until we started getting a bit racial and talking about black businesses, etc., etc. And we saw the real side of Joshua. I've not been a fan since then, to be honest.
Yeah. What do you think to rematch clause, James?
How's it right that a challenger gets a rematch? Money talks. It's not right at all, is it? I don't agree with him anyway, in principle. I think you need to, if you lose, you need to prove your worth and jump back up the ladder again. Do you know what I mean? It shouldn't be a given.
What happens if they do the rematch? What happens to Martin McCauley, Parker, and all them sort of guys? In IBF rankings, where do they stand? Will they have to take step aside money?
I would say so. There's enough of it to go around, isn't there?
At the moment,
And
yeah, they're all queuing up for
yeah,
it, aren't they?
yeah. Let's face it. Turkey's the one calling the shots. If Turkey decides that is, that's what he wants to see. He wants to see the rematch. He'll make sure everyone gets a nice little drink and a nice little bit of step aside. So yeah, I would. I mean, Martin Bacoli's never been the fashionable choice anyway, has he? Really?
Now, do you think that might try and sweeten Martin McCauley and people like Zhang and them, and just get them to go knock lumps at each other and it be a draw so they can do it again?
Yeah, well, that's sort of what they've been doing anyway, isn't it? It's been like it's the glorified round robin of heavyweights that we had in the sort of 2010s when Danny Williams and Audley Harrison and all that were fighting each other. All right, they weren't world class, but they were they were distracting. They were distracting everyone, and no one was really sort of top level. Well, that's what they're doing now in Saudi, round robin, keeping the fans entertained, and they're just bit part players, aren't they? Really. Um, I've only got time for Usyk. I've only got time for Usyk. And I don't even really think this rematch happens, to be honest with you, in December.
No.
So yeah, they're going to have keep busy fights, aren't they?
You think Usyk's really bothered about fighting any of them lot again? I don't think so.
No, certainly not. The man went to Russia as a Ukrainian and battered a Russian champion, didn't he? And was it Kudryashov? The man's not afraid of anything. Do you know what I mean? And to be fair, Big John Fury, as much of a big man he is, going around headbutting 17-year-olds, he's very lucky that that team, because they're a team of hard men. He's very lucky that that team didn't take exception to his behaviour. That they've got more class in their little finger than he's got in his entire body, because he would have been in trouble. So yeah, I don't think Usyk's scared of anybody. Yeah, classy man.
When you look at Usyk's CV, James, he's already done Joyce in WBSS, hasn't he? Right, he's done
Hmm.
Beeve in Olympics. Uh, he's done Joshua twice, Fury, Dubois, Tony Bellew, Chisora. He's ran through the lot of them. He's cleaned up at undisputed cruiserweight, cleaned up at heavyweight undisputed, 22-0, 14 on Buttermoon, I think, in it. And
Yep.
he's European, world, and Olympic gold. 350 fights amateur, 335 wins, 15 losses, rematched 11. And we know nearly all of them were dodgy decisions away from home. But he's done everything, cruiser and heavyweight, on the road, hasn't it, as the B
He
side.
has.
He beat
Ultimate road warrior.
8 wins over world champions. What more has he got to do? He's an all-time. He could sit in any era, couldn't he? 6'3", 16 stone. He can sit in any era, can't he?
Yeah, same size as Ali.
Yeah,
You
and
know, all these people saying
they're not giving him his flowers, are they? You know,
no, no. And they're sitting there saying he's a small heavyweight. Well, was Ali a small heavyweight? No, he wasn't. He's normal
he's bigger
size.
than George Foreman, who beat Fraser in '73. I think he's £4 heavier than Foreman, and he was classed as
Hmm.
a monster, wasn't he? And it's
Yeah,
same height, and he's a southpaw.
yeah. He's a maestro. He's a maestro. And what do you say about him regularly, Porky? You say he's the Beethoven of boxing or something like that.
Mozart,
Well, I
listen,
would,
mate.
yeah,
Eddie
Mozart.
Hills signed Usyk. He signed Zhang, Olympic silver medalist, and he let him go. And Luis Ortiz, he let him go. And he was an Olympian, although he didn't win him. He was a two-time Olympian, Ortiz, although he not won a medal. Do you know why Eddie
Yeah,
signed all them? To keep
go
him
on.
away from Joshua. And eventually,
Makes sense.
he had to go back to Usyk, didn't he, to fight Joshua? Because
Yeah,
Usyk said, okay, you're not going to give me the Joshua fight. I'm going to force that fight. And he forced it, didn't he? By the manager
yeah,
position. That's what I've told Peter Fury. If you want if you want Yui to get a shot at the title, you've got to force it. Now, they're fighting a guy ranked 166 in world tonight. Yui's ranked 33. So I'm hoping that he takes care of him tonight, and then they start chasing the manager position, because that's what Yui needs, isn't it? And that he's got to go
yeah,
the route that Usyk went, the mandatory route. Yui's only 29, isn't he? So he's got time on his side, really, hasn't he? He's 29 this
yeah,
month, so hopefully he'll get a shot. But he's got to force it over the next couple of years. A good couple of years away from a mandatory slot now. So, but
yeah,
getting back to Usyk, I just see him running over Fury this time, even worse. I see an even bigger beating for Fury. I do, honestly. They're just about mopping money up them lot now, aren't they? And that's the same for Joshua. They all know they're out the depth. Can you imagine them shitting the pants having to fight Usyk now? The lot of them. Can you imagine that, James?
Well, Tyson was for years. I used to, because I used to do a show with Bobby Rimmer as well.
Well, he's all
Main
right.
event boxing show. Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic, Bob. Love him to bits. And I used to say, I said for years, the fight will never happen. The fight will never happen. And let's have it right. The only reason it has happened is because of the Turkey Al Sheikh and the movers and shakers up in Saudi Arabia. He never wanted that fight, and I'm very interested in the story that you told where you was talking about Robin Reed and Peter, and you was all outside the gym, and they sort of
We're
all give
all
a
in
look
the
to each other.
inside the gym. We were inside the gym.
Was there? Yeah. I mean that speaks volumes, and Peter's a man who knows his biscuits when it comes to boxing. Do you know what I mean? If he's turning around and sort of saying, "Well, this is a man to be avoided," Tyson Fury's going to listen to him, isn't he? No matter what their issues are at the moment and all that. Tyson Fury's not as stupid as he might come across. Do you know what I mean? He's very, very shrewd. He's very intelligent, and that is why he waited and waited and waited until he had no choice but to face the middleweight. He'll have Paris Fury in his hero as well. She'll want, you know, she'll want the family looking after and all that. So as soon as that money's on the table, you're not avoiding the fight, are you?
Well, look, how the conversation went. I were throwing names around, Jim, and Tyson were like, he's a bum, he's a bum. I'll knock him out, I'll knock him out. And I went, what about Usyk? Everybody went, you were gulping air. Peter said he's a very serious operator. He's got everything. And Peter knows his boxing. Look, Usyk's the real deal, isn't he? You know that. I know
Yes.
that. Everybody in boxing knows it. They all know it. And look what he's done in
Yeah.
22 fights. He's done it on the road, mate. He's done it on the road, and he's made people look average. He's made them all look average, right? And you've just seen what he did to Tyson. Saw what he did to Joshua. Joshua thought he was surrounded. Every time Joshua set his feet to throw his shots, Usyk had gone, moved. He'd reset his feet, and he couldn't get his shots off. He takes everything off you. They're like computers, him and Lomachenko. They take all your attributes off you. Look, Tyson Fury once told me in Peter Fury's gym, you know, boxing, it's like being an aeroplane. You got to come in, do your work, and then you get back out, don't you? You can't do that against Usyk because once you come in and you want to shoot him, he's gone. So you've got to reset. You've got to, and then you've got to come back round again, and then he's gone again, and then he's hit you with a few bullets, hasn't he? Hit and not get hit. He's a master at it, an absolute master. He's Mozart at boxing. And he's my pound for pound number one for the simple reason he's fighting men 2 and 3 stone heavier than him. Crawford and I know you are not doing that. They're fighting men the same weight as them. They have to make weight, sorry. Usyk doesn't have to make weight. So he's fighting guys that are bigger than him who don't have to make weight. And he's making them look, well, you saw what he did to Dubois, didn't you? He quit. He made him quit. He made him quit, mate. Beat him up, basically beat him up. I don't hear about all that. Oh, he was that low blow stuff, and it weren't low and all that. He had plenty rounds after that to get into the fight. You mind all that? Oh, his head had gone and he lost momentum. He had a 5-minute rest as well, just like Usyk.
Yep.
See where I'm coming from? It works both ways. Crybabies, right?
Yeah.
If they want to forget about all that, they'll try and keep them all away from him now, you know. Like Tyson, what he wanted to do with David Price. Tyson Fury didn't want to fight David Price. So what he did, he waited it out. So Price, he got beat, didn't
he? Yeah.
Luis Ortiz didn't want to fight him. Waited it out. Who else? He tried it with Vladimir. Tried to wait it out with Vladimir because eventually Tyson did beat him, though, but when he were an old man. Tyson were ready for that fight 4 years before. The contracts were all there. He didn't want to know. They waited it out. He did it with Joshua. He waited it out with Joshua. Joshua got done by Ruiz. What did Tyson say? They were no good anyway.
Yeah.
He fight Joshua when Joshua had his 0. You see where I'm coming from? Fair enough.
Yeah.
He fought Wilder, but they had to roll the dice then because there was nowhere else for him to go. And Bricktop thought he wasn't that good, really, didn't he? So he threw him in with Wilder to get a payday. And look what it's turned into for him. You see where I'm coming from? So Bricktop rolled the dice and he got away with it. But they put him in with Wilder to get beat. I can assure you of that. Everybody knows it. You saw his performances before Wilder when he came back, didn't you? So, and Usyk were the same. They thought he'd get beat against Derek. Well, put him in with Derek. Oh, let him fight Joshua twice. He ran over him. He's the man. They're fighting for his scraps. They've ended up with his scraps, haven't they? They took that belt off him. You know, they took it off him so they could give Joshua a belt. You do know that, don't you, James?
Yeah. Of course I do. And they did the same thing with Charlie, with Fury, to give Joshua the opportunity. It's you know, in this situation, you know, there was no skullduggery, there was nothing untoward, there was no, you know, drug cheating or anything like that. And this is another sore point. Do you know what I mean? Drug cheats. I'm sure we're going to come on to that point.
Oh, don't you worry about that, James.
Well, the
those
thing
silent bandmen are not getting off on here.
No, but do you know what? You're talking to the right person as well, because I was involved in some capacity with the worst one of the lot in Larry O years ago when I finished university. He contacted me when he was on a ban and he just wanted to talk to me about a few things. And I remember I called him an arsehole during a phone call. I said, "You're an arsehole for what you've done." Excuse my French. And he said, "Well, I understand where you're coming from, Jamie. Like, I understand, but I'm only the tip of the iceberg, and you will see. Like, you'll see the sport's rotten." So Tyson Fury doing it, I don't have as much sympathy for him. Like, him getting stripped of his IBF because the man was cheating, allegedly. Whereas Usyk, yeah, he's just gone, well, he's a bit more humble about it, isn't he? And he's like, you can fight for my scraps. I'm confident. I'm the man. I'm the prince. You're all paupers. You want to come back? I'll beat you all again. So, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, he's. You know what surprises me when Eddie Hills signed Usyk, why they didn't go above and beyond to keep him. I couldn't work that out because everything revolves around Joshua, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They backed the wrong horse because sooner or later they had to fight somebody.
Hmm.
Had to fight somebody with Joshua. They couldn't keep running through your Eric Molinas, your Paul Lefts and Povetkins, and Dominic Brazils and all that. That wasn't going to wash. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
They had to fight somebody.
the danger signs were there with Klitschko. I think they would have fought someone a lot sooner had he not been sort of wobbled. And because let's face it, that fight with Klitschko was very much like there were shades of the way that Usyk wobbled Fury there. He was all over the gaff, weren't he?
Yeah.
And after that, they were like, right, well, Joshua won't want that. So we're going to slow it down a little bit. We're going to let him rack up the wins. He's selling out Wembley. He sells out any arena in about 90 minutes. So, he was doing a larger version of what Bricktop likes to do quite regularly with fighters. What he did with Josh Warrington moving up. If you make a pound note, I'm just going to not stifle you, but I'm going to keep your career sort of ticking over as long as possible before we go for the big shot. And most people turn around and they say, "Oh, it's masterful matchmaking." It's not. It's just the art of making money. That's what Frank Warren's really, really good at. And Eddie Hearn did it on a more industrial scale with Joshua, didn't he? He saw that the chin was hiding glass, and he was like, "Well, we need to slow it down. I can't have my big project, the man that's going to make Matchroom millions. I can't have him, falling at the very sort of second hurdle. We've got to keep it going. It's a gravy train, and that's why they're talking about this rematch. They can't. I mean, he's only 34. He's 35 in October, isn't he, Joshua?
Next month.
Yeah, he's not. He's not old enough yet. They've got to squeeze a little bit more gravy off that train, haven't they? So there'll be rematches. There'll be more bullshit, more narrative. But as long as people like us, the hardcores, as long as we know who the real king is, there's not really a problem. You know what I mean? Let's just enjoy the fights. Well, it wasn't really a fight, was it? It was a massacre. But let's enjoy it while we can, because we know who number one is.
Getting back to Josh Warrington that you touched on there, Eddie,
Hmm.
Eddie Hills didn't deliver him a world title. It was Bricktop that delivered him it. You
Yeah,
remember
break
that
top.
one. But,
Yeah,
but what Eddie Hills did with Josh Warrington, and this is why they got a bit fed up with him, the Warrington family. All they were doing, and they've had to go running back, haven't they? They've been running back a couple of times, haven't they, since that world title, since they went and won a world title with Bricktop. With Josh Warrington, he did tickets. He doesn't now. He did tickets then.
yeah,
Right. So they thought, well, we'll just milk Josh to death. That's all they did. They milked him to death. They didn't want him to have a world title fight. They kept milking it and milking it and milking it until they couldn't milk it no more. And eventually everybody got fed up. You know what I mean? And he had to go all the way to get a world title, to jump the street, didn't he, to get his world title shot with Bricktop. Bricktop delivered for him, so you've got to give him credit. And what did they do then? They went and shit on him, didn't they? And went running back.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they've done it a couple of times now, haven't they? So they're in the wilderness now, aren't they?
yeah.
Basically.
I mean,
And I felt for Josh other night, James, because he's a nice enough kid, but he knows he's got one win in 5 years, and that were an old man that he'd beaten 62 months before when he fought him in the first one. Kiko Martinez were an old fart, wasn't he? When
yeah,
all of them second time. He were an old
yeah,
fart first time, wasn't he?
yeah. He was ultimate road warrior. I feel for Josh because I've got that connection to Steve Wood, and I'm friends with the Wood family as well. So I have always had an affinity with Josh Warrington. I wanted to see him sort of get his fight in America, but I wanted it to happen for Steve Wood as well. Steve Wood never did me any harm. He was very good to me. He got me my start in boxing. But it's yeah, it is a shame. It's a shame. I did feel for him. But he is the one thing you can say about Josh Warrington. He's a man who squeezed the most out of. He didn't have the greatest potential in the world, really, did he? Like he looked like he had a very, very basic style. Couldn't really knock the skin off a rice pudding, and he went the traditional route. So fair play to him. Fair play to him, really.
I prefer that because he went area English, British, Commonwealth, in the European world.
Yep.
Frampton, Selby, Kiko Martinez twice. He's done well, Josh, hasn't he? He's ended up
Yeah.
banking a lot of money, and I'm really pleased for him. I don't agree with how they got rid of all the team and that in the last couple of years and that because I think they've gone downhill since then.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon?
He focused more on. Sorry to cut across you there, Porky. He focused more on using his head than his fists, which is something I didn't agree with at
Yeah.
all. I used to rant about it quite a lot. It used to piss me off. You're not really a dirty fighter at heart, Josh. I don't know why you're doing this. I mean, he used to just lead with his head, didn't he? Look at how he fought Mauricio Lara. And then they were playing the victims. It's like, no.
My argument with Josh Warrington is, if you remember a few years ago when people used to try and hold him because he threw a lot of punches and that, didn't he? He didn't used to like being held, did he? And up close, and he used to complain his dad, Josh. His dad, Bagpuss. He used to fighters holding there, Josh well. All I saw the other night against Kakazi were, Josh holding. Oh, there, Josh. All I saw, big fat Sean O'Egan, we all had holding all night long. All night long. Holding on for dear life. If you want headbutting, like in other fights, recent times, because it's frustration that, because they're not Father Time catches up with them. They can't throw as many punches. You can't go full on like you used to be able to go. You have to know when to time it. And he's been taking a lot of rounds off and not throwing as many punches. And that's because he's getting old. Holding on for dear life against a guy who's barely Euro level. That guy who's beating, who's a world champion now, by the way. He'd scrape as Euro level 5 years ago in that Kakazi. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
He's got a world title, him. And to be honest with you, I look and I think he's not a world champion. To me, he's not world level, him. He is not world level. Yeah, he's got a win over Josh Warrington, but it's not the Josh Warrington from years ago, is it? Who beat Frampton and Selby, is it? Well, Josh Warrington were on slide when he fought Kid Galahad. I think he were on slide then, right? And since then he's picked up 6 or 7 fights. Been picking up decent money, so he's done all right. But he was finished when he fought Galahad. I've seen him after that 7th round against Galahad. I thought he's done him. He's cooked. Since then, they've been papering over cracks. Now, his dad's going on about game plans and all that. Josh didn't stick to game plan I give him. Well, the game plan you give him, fat man, is he couldn't because he's not that fighter no more. So you should have given him a different game plan. Give him a game plan where he can take rounds off and stuff like that. You can't just give him a game plan and think he's going to go flat out 12 rounds against somebody with a longer reach. Not going to work. So you got the game plan wrong. It'd be like Bernard Hopkins and Mayweather. Earlier in their careers, they couldn't do what they did later. They couldn't do what they did earlier in their careers. Later in their careers, they had to adopt the style. Ali couldn't be the guy who beat Sonny Liston the first time. He couldn't be that guy against George Foreman, could he? 10 years later, could he?
No.
Because he's
certainly not. No.
So caught up with you on it. So why give him that game plan where you think he's going to flow flurries of punches, this and that, blah, blah, blah. He can't do that. Go and look at the statistics. If you're throwing an average of 80, 85 punches around 5 years ago, that's brilliant. But what if you're throwing 30, 35 now? You're not the same fighter, are you? So why give him that game plan? Are they thick?
Slow it down. Slow it down.
Exactly.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah,
anybody could see it who had half a brain what was going on. Josh was trying, and I don't doubt he's a fit kid, but he's not that guy anymore. So adapt. He ain't got no power for starters, and he's not a slickster. His style's built on like you know what style is built on, that aggressive style,
yeah,
like a
volume.
Ricky Hatton type, throw Ricky Hatton type, isn't he? Throws
Yeah.
loaded punches, comes forward and all that. Take that off.
Hmm.
What has he got? He's not a slickster. He can't. He's not like Lee Wood. He can't bang them out, can he? Pot shot and bang them and hurt them. So he hasn't really got much else to his game, has he? Other than that style. He's giving him game.
But
He's
Rick,
been giving him that game plan for 10, 12 years now. Oh, he
yeah,
didn't game plan. What? What? The same game plan from donkeys years ago. Change it up, fat man.
change it up. Well, it was the same with, and I'm the world's biggest Ricky Hatton fan, or I was. Um, it was the same with Hatton. You know, there was the adoption of like the tactics, and people saying it was masterful. As soon as he beat Kosciuszko, and like he was just going forward a million miles an hour, going in with his head, going in, hugging and all that. That's all he ever used to do after that. Do you know what I mean? So I agree with what you're saying there, Russ. It's you know it is it's the fact that Father Time is catching up to them, and they need to be a bit more dirty. Get the shots in other ways. Um, and it's a shame to see that with Josh Warrington. I mean, Ricky had far more skill than Josh Warrington. I believe he was a very good boxer, very good sort of. He was a world junior bronze medalist as well, wasn't he? Beat Jurgen Bremer and fighters like that. So Ricky had a little bit more in his locker. But I would agree with you. Yeah, you've got to try and change it up. But I would have had Josh retire 3 or 4 fights ago because it's clear, and no disrespect to him, but it just hasn't been there. And he
You're not
said,
going to let him retire. Listen, right. You know, somebody, if they're in mix, right, still got an high ranking, or they can still get in a title shot, do you think them around him are going to let that kid retire? They're not going to do that. No one can
no,
squeeze every. Listen, he'll be, if he's not now, in next fight, or if he loses his next fight, he's a gatekeeper. I think they'll give him one more opportunity. He'll be a gatekeeper then. He'll be a gatekeeper like Maxie Hughes. He'll just be a gatekeeper.
yeah,
That's what they'll do to him, Matt, and they'll just keep squeezing what they can out of him. And they'll talk about past glories and this and that. But once you start cutting down on your team, proper people around you, and you start cutting down on sparring to save money because you're going to be earning less, it all catches up with you. If they want to
of
get him
course,
back to where they need to get him, he needs a different trainer and a different style, and they need to put some money and invest some money into him and get proper sparring partners in. But they're not going to do that. They're going to try and pinch a few quid, and when you do that, you're heading for gatekeeper. You're going to be a gatekeeper because he can't get his son out of jail, Josh Warrington, when he's in trouble because he's got no
no,
pop in his punches.
no power,
And he can't
no power.
throw them flurries like he used to do. So all I see him now is just getting knocked about and spoiling. You know, that other night, that was a stinky
Mm.
fight, wasn't it? That wasn't that
It
stinky
was,
fight. Oh,
it was because he didn't have the power to keep him off. But this is what I was going to ask you as well,
yeah.
Russ. You're saying that he laid his gloves down in the ring after the fight. Do you think that the team around him, Sean O'Hagan or his dad, do you think his dad's turned around and gone, no, we can give it another go? Because I listened to him. He was on a show the other day. It might have been with Steve Bunce or someone like that, and he was just turning around and saying like, "I was really trying, but I just don't feel like I've got it anymore."
Yeah, of
And
course he hasn't got it anymore. I've pointed it out on here for the last couple of years. Look,
yeah.
I'm a
So
stat
who
man,
would have been in his hero? Who would have been in his hero? Would the team have been in his hero there? Because it was plain to me that he wanted to retire. He left his gloves in the ring. That was a very traditional act. That's what they used to do, isn't it? So he's already made his mind up. So if he goes again, it's dangerous because his heart's not going to be in it, is it? And he's going to get smashed.
somebody's going to be in his ear all at the moment. They're going to be saying to him, look, Josh, you've still got it. You've still got it. You're stronger, faster, quicker than a speeding bullet. Here, have some kangaroo meat. They're going to say all that to him, aren't they? They're going to be telling him that he's fantastic. You're brilliant. You've still got it. You look the business. Look, just because you haven't got many knockouts, you still can punch. They're going to tell out the fuck a snake to get him back in ring. to get it mixed, to have a bit of reflected glory, to get some of that. They're not
Mm.
bothered about him, the people around him. They're bothered about that. The kid's done, he's cooked. Anyway, move on from him. Let's go on to part 2, yeah?
Yeah, let's.
One
Right.
piece out. Thanks for
Bye, mate.
liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. If anybody's got a problem with what I've just said in part 1, I don't care. See you on part 2. And don't forget, PORKYS International, YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. All right. Sean O'Hagan. What, do you want to kiss and make up, fat man? Do me a favour.